There are moments in life when everything feels uncertain, when you're caught between what was and what will be. You've been praying, hoping, grinding, and pushing through obstacles. You felt pain, disappointment, and setbacks. But what if I told you this very pressure, this very storm, is not the end, but the signal of something far greater? What if I told you that when things seem most silent, most stagnant, most difficult, God is preparing to give you something big? Yes, it may not look like it. Your circumstances might not reflect it. People around you might not believe it. But faith is not about seeing, it's about believing. Believing when everything else says, give up. Believing when the evidence is missing. Believing that the God who made a way before can do it again, this time, even bigger. The truth is, God never moves without purpose. There's no delay in heaven that isn't packed with divine intention. Every detour, every rejection, every no you received was not a denial. It was redirection. God wasn't punishing you. He was positioning you. Because when He gives something big, He first has to prepare you for it. You see, everyone wants the blessing, but not everyone is ready to carry it. We want the platform, but are we ready for the pressure? We ask for increase, but are we prepared for the responsibility that comes with it? We pray for promotion, but are we mature enough to handle it with humility? Just interested in giving you what you ask for. He's interested in who you're becoming in the process. He cares about your character. He's building your strength. He's shaping your faith. He's making sure that when the blessing arrives, you don't lose it because you weren't ready. God is not ignoring you. He's working behind the scenes. Doors may have closed, not because He doesn't love you, but because He loves you too much to let you settle for less than what He planned. That relationship that ended, that job you didn't get, that opportunity that slipped through your fingers. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and thank God for every closed door because He had something better, something bigger. But here's the key. Stay faithful in the waiting. You must keep showing up even when it's hard. Keep believing even when doubt whispers. Keep walking even when the road is dark. Faith doesn't guarantee an easy journey, but it does guarantee a purposeful one. And when God sees that you're still trusting Him, still praising Him, still obeying Him, He will honor that faith. God prepares you before He promotes you. This is a truth that echoes throughout history, scripture, and personal experience. It's a pattern that reveals God's wisdom and intentionality in how He blesses His people. When we ask for something great, whether it's a dream fulfilled, a platform expanded, a responsibility increased, or a new chapter opened, God doesn't simply hand it over. Instead, He begins a process of preparation, because a blessing received too early can feel like a burden. A position obtained without the maturity to handle it can destroy the person who receives it. God, in His love, takes time to shape us before He elevates USA. The preparation season is often misunderstood. We think that because we don't see movement, God isn't working. We equate silence with absence. But in reality, the moments where nothing seems to be happening are often the moments where God is doing the most. He's working beneath the surface, dealing with our hearts, refining our thoughts, stretching our faith, building our endurance. He's preparing us internally for what's coming externally, for what's coming. It's not about performing or proving anything to God. It's about aligning our character with the weight of the calling. Think of the story of David. He was anointed to be king as a teenager, yet he didn't immediately take the throne. Instead, he went back to tending sheep. He spent years running from Saul, hiding in caves, leading outlaws, and learning how to seek God in solitude. Those hidden years weren't wasted. They were foundational. God used that time to mold a shepherd boy into a king with a heart after His own. If David had stepped into the throne room without the wilderness experience, he might not have had the humility, dependence, or wisdom required to lead well. The same with us. We often want the crown without the cave. We pray for success, for open doors, for influence, but we forget that every divine promotion comes with divine pruning. God begins to strip away the things that will not serve us in the next season. He removes unhealthy attachments, exposes hidden insecurities, and challenges old mindsets. It's uncomfortable. It stretches us, but it's necessary because what's ahead requires a version of you that can handle more, carry more, and still stay grounded. Preparation isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like consistency, showing up when no one's watching, doing the small things with excellence, staying faithful in the mundane. It's in those daily disciplines that God builds strength. When no one is applauding, when there's no immediate reward, He watches how you steward the season of Guru. Are you serving with excellence? Are you growing even when no one's affirming you? Are you learning, listening, obeying? There's a reason the process takes time. God is never in a rush when it comes to building something that will last. Quick success without deep roots can lead to quick collapse. But when you allow God to do the inner work, when you let Him develop patience, humility, discernment, and discipline in you, then you're not just receiving a blessing, you're becoming the person who can sustain it. Promotion from God doesn't just elevate your position, it magnifies your character. It magnifies your character. If you're not ready, the platform will reveal cracks instead of strength, so He takes His time. He trains you in hidden places. He teaches you in the quiet. He strengthens your foundation. Because when He promotes you, it's not just about where you're going. It's about who you've become. Delays are not denials. They are divine redirections. It's a statement that sounds simple, yet it carries deep truth for anyone who has ever waited for a prayer to be answered, a door to open, or a dream to come to life. When we experience delay, our natural reaction is often frustration. We wonder if we missed the opportunity, made the wrong move, or worse, if God is ignoring us. But what we perceive as a delay is often God orchestrating a better route, a safer path, or a more powerful moment of fulfillment than we originally imagined. Delay doesn't mean God said a no. It often means a not yet. It means there are pieces that still need to fall into place. People you haven't met yet. Lessons you haven't learned yet. Maturity you haven't reached yet. God sees the full picture. We only see a frame. So while we may be focused on immediate results, God is focused on lasting impact. He's not just interested in giving us what we want. He's interested in giving us what we're truly ready to receive.
Take the story of Lazarus as an example.
In the Bible, when Jesus heard that Lazarus was sick, He didn't rush to heal him immediately. He waited. To those watching, it seemed like Jesus delayed. And that delay led to Lazarus dying. But Jesus knew something no one else did, that this moment would not end in death, but glory. His delay was divine. It was intentional. When Jesus finally arrived and raised Lazarus from the dead, the miracle carried even greater power. The delay wasn't a denial. It was a setup for something far greater. In our own lives, we often go through seasons where doors don't open when we expect. Opportunities pass us by. Plans fall apart. It's tempting to believe that we're being overlooked, forgotten, or punished. But God doesn't operate on our timeline. He moves according to His wisdom, His purpose, and His perfect timing. What feels like a missed opportunity may actually be divine protection. That job you didn't get might have been the wrong environment for your growth. That relationship that ended might have distracted you from your calling. That move that didn't happen might have kept you from stepping into a trap. God sees what we can't, so He leads us in ways that often only make sense in hindsight. Divine redirection also means God is leading you to something better. Sometimes you're so focused on your own plan that you miss the fact that God's plan is far superior. You're praying for what you think is best, but God, who knows the end from the beginning, is guiding you to what is best. That requires trust. It requires trust. It requires patience. It requires the willingness to surrender your timeline for His. And in the waiting, God is still working. He's not idle. He's refining you. He's preparing the environment. He's aligning hearts, arranging circumstances, and building you into someone who can thrive when the door finally opens. The wait is not wasted. Every day in the delay can be a day of development, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. You become wiser, stronger, more grounded. You learn how to hear His voice more clearly. You build resilience and faith. And when the moment comes, you step into it not just hoping you're ready, but knowing you are. Another powerful truth about divine redirection is that it keeps you in alignment with purpose. You may have a dream, a goal, a vision, but God's purpose is the compass. If your dream starts drifting from His purpose, He will lovingly intervene. That interruption may look like failure, but it's actually grace. God loves you enough to say a no to something good in order to give you something great. Redirection can feel like rejection, but it's actually redemptive. There's also a discipline that's developed in the delay. It teaches you how to walk by faith and not by sight. It trains your heart to trust in God's character, not just in His gifts. Because when everything is quiet and prayers seem unanswered, you're faced with a choice to give up or to lean in. And it's in that space that your faith deepens. That's when roots grow strong. When there's no fruit in sight, but you keep believing anyway. Delays stretch your trust. They strip away entitlement and force you to surrender control. They teach you to depend on God, not on timing or outcomes. And in that surrender, you find peace. You learn that even when things don't go your way, they're still going God's way. His way is always better. The process is part of the promise. It's easy to get excited about the promise, the vision, the blessing, the dream. We love the idea of arriving at the destination, of receiving the reward, of walking in the fullness of what we were created for. But what often gets overlooked is the journey that leads there. The process, the tests, the trials, the setbacks, the refining is not just an obstacle on the way to the promise. It's an essential part of it. The process molds you into the person who can carry the promise. It's in the long nights, the unanswered prayers, the tough decisions, and the painful lessons that your strength is built. God never wastes a step. Every moment has meaning. Every struggle has purpose. You're not just being delayed. You're being developed. You're being developed. You're being shaped into someone with deeper wisdom, stronger character, and unwavering faith. When God makes you a promise, He doesn't deliver it instantly because there are things He wants to teach you along the way. Think about the Israelites. God promised them the promised land, a place flowing with milk and honey. But they didn't walk into it overnight. They went through a process, a wilderness season that lasted years. In that wilderness, they learned dependence, obedience, and the importance of trusting God, even when they didn't understand His ways. The journey was difficult, but it revealed what was in their hearts. It refined them. It exposed pride, impatience, and fear. And for those who endured with faith, it prepared them to inherit the land. The process strips away what doesn't belong. It removes old habits, unhelpful attitudes, and small thinking. It exposes weakness not to shame you, but so you can grow. Sometimes you don't even realize what's inside you until the pressure comes. The process brings it out. It shows you where your trust lies, where your identity is rooted in what you truly believe. And in that exposure, God works. He heals, rebuilds, and transforms. The process also tests your consistency. Anyone can believe for a day or two, but can you keep going when nothing's changing? Can you stay committed when no one's clapping? Can you remain faithful when the promise feels far away? That's where real strength is built, not in moments of inspiration, but in daily obedience. The process demands that you show up over and over again, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when you're tired. It's easy to want the promise and avoid the process. But without the process, the promise can't be sustained. If you receive something too soon, before you're ready, it can crush you. It can inflate your ego, distort your perspective, or distract you from purpose. God knows what you need to learn before you receive what you're praying for. And He loves you enough to take you through the process, even when you resist it. In the process, your faith is not only tested, it's strengthened. You begin to trust God, not just for outcomes, but in the waiting. You learn to walk with Him, not just talk about Him. You experience His presence, not just His power. And that deep relationship with God becomes the real reward. The promise becomes the fruit, but the process becomes the root. The fruit won't last. The process also brings clarity. What you thought you wanted at the beginning might change along the way. As you grow, so do your desires. God often refines your vision during the process. He realigns your motives, clarifies your goals, and helps you see things through His perspective. And sometimes what you thought was the promise turns out to be just a glimpse of something even greater that He had planned. It's in the process that you learn gratitude. When you've been through something, when you've had to fight for your peace, pray through tears, and wait with hope, you appreciate the promise on a deeper level. You don't take it for granted. You understand what it cost. And because of that, you protect it, honor it, and steward it well. Spiritual resistance is a sign of coming breakthrough. When you start feeling opposition in areas where you were once moving smoothly, it often means you're closer to your breakthrough than you think. Resistance doesn't always mean you're doing something wrong. In fact, more often than not, it means you're doing something right. When you begin to step into purpose, elevate your thinking, walk in obedience, or pursue the calling God has placed on your life, don't be surprised when resistance shows up. It's not a coincidence, it's confirmation. The enemy doesn't waste energy fighting something that isn't a threat. If you were not carrying something significant, if you weren't moving towards something powerful, If you weren't shifting something in the spirit, there would be no need for the resistance you're facing. But the fact that you feel the pressure, the confusion, the spiritual warfare, it's a sign that you're getting close. The storm intensifies right before the breakthrough. The opposition increases when the enemy sees you stepping into alignment with God's will. Spiritual resistance comes in many forms. It can be discouragement, anxiety, distraction, sudden conflict, unexpected setbacks, or an overwhelming feeling of heaviness. These aren't just emotional or circumstantial, they can be spiritual attacks designed to pull your focus, drain your energy, and weaken your resolve. But here's the truth: spiritual resistance cannot stop what God has ordained. It can delay you, distract you, frustrate you, but it cannot destroy you unless you surrender to it. When you face resistance, it's crucial to remember who you are and whose you are. You are not powerless. You are not abandoned. God has equipped you with everything you need to overcome. Scripture says that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. It doesn't say the weapon won't form, just that it won't succeed. That means you might feel the impact. You might see the attack, but it won't have the final say. God does. The breakthrough you're moving toward isn't just about receiving something. It's about becoming someone. And resistance is part of that process. It builds spiritual muscle. It teaches you how to fight in prayer, how to discern spiritually, how to stand firm in truth when everything around you is shaking. Without resistance, you would never learn the strength that's already within you. You'd never tap into the authority God has given you. Think about Jesus before he started his public ministry. He was led into the wilderness where he fasted for 40 days and faced direct temptation from the enemy. That was resistance, but it came right before he stepped into miracles, teaching and fulfilling his divine assignment. That season of opposition was a precursor to an outpouring. The enemy tried to stop him before he started, but it only served to solidify his purpose and reveal his authority. The same applies to you. If you're feeling pressure, if you're experiencing intense resistance, it could be that you are on the verge of stepping into something significant. It's not the time to retreat. It's the time to press in. It's the time to pray deeper, praise louder, and stand firmer. The pressure isn't proof that you're losing. It's evidence that something powerful is being birthed. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. You're not being crushed. You're being conditioned. Resistance forces you to rely on God in ways you never would have if everything had gone smoothly. It strips you of self-reliance and draws you in deeper dependence on His strength, His wisdom, His protection. God allows resistance, not to break you, but to build you. Every trial, every attack, every challenge is shaping you for the next level. It's preparing your heart, sharpening your focus, and igniting your hunger for what's ahead. So, when you feel the heat rising, the pressure mounting, and the tension growing, don't give up. Lift your eyes and recognize the pattern. Resistance precedes revelation. Pressure comes before power. And the darkest hour is just before the dawn. You must grow into the blessing you're praying for. Often when we ask God for something big, a new level of influence, a powerful calling, a relationship, a business, a platform, we focus on the outcome. We think about what it would look like, how it would feel, and what doors it would open. But God sees something deeper. He sees the weight of the blessing, the responsibility attached to it, and what kind of person is required to carry it well. Before God gives you what you're asking for, He works on making sure you can handle it. The blessing is not withheld. It's delayed until you grow into it. There is a version of you that exists today, and there is a version of you that can sustain the thing you're praying for. Those two versions are not always the same. Growth is what bridges the gap. That means God won't just change your circumstances. He'll change you first. He'll stretch your mindset, deepen your faith, develop your character, and sharpen your discernment. Because the blessing isn't just about what you receive. It's about what you can manage, protect, and multiply. Sometimes we wonder why the thing we prayed for hasn't come to pass yet. But if we were to look closely, we'd see that we're still being prepared. There are still areas in our hearts that need to mature. There are still habits that need to be broken, fears that need to be faced, attitudes that need to shift. God knows what's coming, and He won't let us step into something we're not yet equipped to carry with grace, humility, and wisdom. It's not a punishment. It's protection. There are things you're praying for now that look like a dream, but they come with challenges you haven't yet experienced. A bigger platform brings more eyes, more opinions, more pressure. A relationship brings emotional responsibility, communication, selflessness. A business brings long hours, financial stewardship, and leadership. These blessings are good, but they demand growth. And God will often use the waiting period to prepare you for that next level of responsibility. The growth process is often slow and subtle. It happens in quiet moments of obedience. It happens when you choose to forgive, when you humble yourself, when you keep going, even when no one notices. It happens in the way you treat others when you have nothing to gain. Growth doesn't always feel like growth. It feels like hard lessons, discomfort, stretching, and even pain. But it's working. It's building endurance, shaping perspective, and making room for something greater. Growth also means shedding what can't go with you. Not everything you have now will be part of your next season. Some relationships will fall away, some mindsets will no longer fit, and some environments will become too small. That's part of growth. It can be lonely, confusing, and even heartbreaking, but it's necessary. The blessing you're growing into requires you to carry less baggage. It requires focus, freedom, and clarity. You won't always see your own growth while you're in it. It won't always feel like you're making progress. But one day you'll look back and realize how far you've come. You'll realize that the very things that once shook you don't move you anymore. That the fears that once stopped you have no voice now. That the discipline you developed in private became the foundation you stand on in public. That's what growing into a blessing looks like. It's unseen transformation that prepares you for visible elevation. And there's something powerful about becoming the person who can handle the very thing you once only dreamed of. When the blessing finally arrives, you won't be surprised. You'll be ready. You won't question if you belong. You'll know you were built for it because you didn't just wait for the blessing. You grew into it and you grew. And that kind of growth changes. Everything got God. God removes to make room. It's a principle that can feel confusing, even painful in the moment, but it carries deep purpose. When people, opportunities, habits, or environments begin to fall away from your life, it's not always a sign that something is going wrong. It might be a sign that God is clearing space for something greater. Sometimes, before He adds, He subtracts. Before He builds, He breaks down what can't carry the weight of what's coming. And though it may feel like loss, it's actually preparation. We often cling to things that are familiar, even if they're not fruitful. We hold on to relationships that drain us, jobs that limit us, patterns that slow our growth, and comfort zones that keep us from stepping into faith. And while we may think we need them to feel safe or secure, God knows they are holding us back from the fullness of what He has planned. So in His mercy, He starts removing. It might not feel like mercy in the moment. It may feel like rejection, abandonment, or failure. But God is not trying to hurt you. He's trying to free you. When God begins to take something out of your life, it can feel like everything is falling apart. But what's really happening is a divine reordering. God is making room, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally. He's creating space in your heart, your schedule, your thoughts, and your relationships for what He's about to bring. And sometimes that means stripping away what you thought you needed so you can discover what you truly need. There are times when you don't realize how much something is weighing you down until God takes it away. It could be a friendship that seemed loyal but was keeping you stuck in the past. It could be a position you were proud of, but it was feeding your ego more than your soul. It could be a plan you created, but it was built on fear, not faith. God sees what we can't, and so He begins to remove things that don't align with the future He's calling us into. The process can be disorienting. You may find yourself in a season of quiet where people disappear, opportunities dry up, and the path forward feels uncertain. But don't rush to fill the empty space. That space is sacred. That space is where transformation happens. It's where God speaks, where He heals, where He restores your identity and renews your vision. It's where He reminds you that your worth is not in what you lost, but in who you are becoming. God doesn't just remove randomly. Every subtraction is intentional. Every closed door is a redirection. Every goodbye is an opportunity to trust Him more deeply. And every time something leaves your life, He's inviting you to ask, what are you making room for? Because God never takes without the intention to give. But the new can't come until the old is released. The fresh can't flow while the familiar clutters your soul. And the next level can't begin while you're still holding on to what belonged to the last one. This is why surrender is so important. When God removes something, your job isn't to fight it, it's to trust Him. It's to trust Him. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't value it. It means you value Him more. It means you trust that His plan is better than your preferences. It means you believe that what He's making room for is not just different, it's better. Maybe not easier, but richer in purpose. Maybe not what you expected, but exactly what you need. You can't step into overflow if your hands are still full of yesterday's blessings. You can't move forward if you're still tied to what was. There's a divine exchange happening. God is removing what's no longer serving you so He can pour in something that will sustain you, something that will grow you, stretch you, challenge you, and ultimately bless you on a level that your current life can't contain. Delay is not denial. That's a truth you have to hold on to tightly, especially in the moments when it feels like nothing is moving, nothing is changing, and God is silent. Delay has a way of testing your heart more than anything else. It stirs up questions, insecurities, and doubts. Oh, you start wondering if the promise was even real, if the vision was just your imagination, or if you missed your moment. But just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied.
God's timing is
换到
perfect,
那
and when
边
He
或那边。
delays something, it's always with intention.
We live in a culture that praises instant results. We want quick answers, fast progress, immediate gratification. But God works on a different timetable. His pace isn't based on your preference, it's based on your preparation. When He says, not yet, it's not because He's teasing you or ignoring you. Oh! It's because He's aligning people, circumstances, and most importantly, your heart for the right moment. A premature blessing can become a burden. God delays because He loves you enough not to give you something you're not ready for. There are times when it looks like everyone else is moving forward but you. Others are getting married, starting businesses, launching ministries, achieving milestones, and you feel stuck. But comparison is dangerous in a season of delay. You don't know the weight of what they're carrying or the battles they had to fight to get there. And more importantly, your journey is not theirs. Your timeline is handcrafted by God for your unique calling, and if you rush it to match someone else's, you might step into something that's not yours. Delay often exposes what's really in your heart. Will you still believe when there's no evidence? Will you still praise when there's no progress? Will you still trust when the doors remain closed? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary. Because the delay doesn't just test your patience, it refines your posture. It reveals whether you're seeking God or just His gifts. It forces you to build your hope on His faithfulness, not on visible outcomes. Sometimes the delay is a mercy in disguise. What you're praying for might not be ready for you, or you might not be ready for it. If God were to release it now, it might damage your character, shake your faith, or inflate your pride. He knows what's ahead. He sees the challenges you can't. And in the delay, He's not punishing you. He's preparing you. He's building your endurance, stretching your faith, and deepening your trust. That waiting season is often the very thing that anchors you for the weight of the promise. There are also things being worked out behind the scenes that you don't see. People you haven't met yet, doors that haven't opened, hearts that need to change. God is orchestrating it all. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean He's not moving. His silence is not absence. He works in the hidden places, in the in-between, in the wilderness. And sometimes the greatest growth happens in the quiet. You may not notice it day by day, but it's there. And when the time comes, it will all make sense. Don't let the delay make you settle. There's a temptation to shrink your vision, to lower your expectations, or to take matters into your own hands. But that kind of compromise leads to regret. Stay aligned. Stay faithful. Keep your standards rooted in what God said, not in what you feel. What He has for you is still coming, and when it arrives, you'll know it was worth every second of waiting. Delays aren't just about the promise, they're about the person you're becoming while you wait. God is forming something inside you that's bigger than the thing you're asking for. He's teaching you how to rely on Him, how to endure, how to hold on when nothing makes sense. Those lessons become your strength when the promise is finally fulfilled. The waiting may be long, but it is not wasted. Every moment is a part of the process, and every delay is filled with purpose.
Okay, final button. Okay, good.
pull, and pull. Okay, Frankie, let go. Foot to step. Wait, no, I need it. Yeah, okay. 粉妹將佢腳換一下。呢隻腳
这个要不要換個角度？
而家直呢隻腳對住鏡頭。
換到那邊或那邊。
係啦係啦。高啲升高啲，打黑喎。Okay, come on. 3, 2, 1. Look at me. Look at me.
Both look like a pen.